Welcome in to the PHNX Suns pregame show brought to you by our friends at the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you know whenever we are live. I'm Lindsay, here with Espo and Gerald. And it feels like it's been a long time since we've had a game. We had 2 whole days in between the last game and today.
I feel like it's the first time we've done back-to-back non-game shows.
In a while, yeah.
That's a weird way to say that. We're not doing game. You know what I mean, anyways.
I mean, we should start a game show on this network.
I'd be down
I'm just
for
saying
that.
it would be a lot of fun.
We should do it based on movies and really piss Gerald off. It'd be great.
Yeah, I'm really glad we have games back today.
Look at his shirt. Look at Gerald's shirt.
Low-key
Look.
trolling.
I just
Star
felt
Wars
the
nod.
need to make sure that everyone could see my Star Wars droid shirt today.
I'm
Not
carrying my
related.
James Bond pistol, but it's hidden.
Mhm.
I'll have my martini later. Don't you worry.
Okay.
Well, tonight the Phoenix Suns are facing off against the Minnesota Timberwolves, and this should be a exciting matchup because this is the first, I would say, bigger test for this team without Chris Paul. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how this one shakes out.
Is it that big of a I don't know. I understand Minnesota's been playing very well, right?
Mm.
And the Suns have played some lesser teams along the way, but I don't know that this is a huge test. And I don't even know. I get that this team comes out every night and wants to win, but I don't even know where the mentality is at this point. The magic number's 2,
Right.
to solidify the number 1 seed. You could conceivably do it tonight, so maybe that's a little something, but I don't know where the Suns' motivation and thought process is at this moment, so I don't know how big this game is. I don't know how much of a
I think
test
it's bigger
this is.
for us than it is for them. Bigger for us in the sense, like from the fan perspective, like we want to be able to see this team without Chris Paul
True.
continue to do what they've been able to do over the last handful of weeks, right? Like we've already talked about it multiple times on the show. What they've shown us to this point is that down the line, as they continue to grow and get better, and Chris Paul stops playing basketball at some point in time, we're going to be fine.
Mm.
Like we're seeing the glimpse of hope there, right? For a couple years down the road. If you can do it against a team that is in the higher tier as far as teams across the league, that's even more of a sign of that.
Yeah, and this is a big game for Minnesota. I will say that because Minnesota's going, okay, we're good, but here's a benchmark. So
Yeah, I mean, the Timberwolves have one of the best records in the league. I think they're top 5 in offensive and defensive ratings since the All-Star break. So they've been playing great basketball. I think they've won 8 of their last 10. Karl Anthony Towns has been phenomenal. I mean, coming off the 3-point contest win that he had at All-Star weekend.
which is
Anthony
still so
Edwards.
weird.
Yeah, it's bizarre, but Anthony Edwards, future All-Star. Like, this team has really good pieces. They're a young team on the rise that things are clicking for. I don't know if it's the biggest test that they face without Chris Paul, because I think that Miami game, that was a good one. The Bucks game, even though they lost that game that they played without Devin Booker too, that was a really good showing from them. But this is a team that potentially you might see in the first round. Like, they're at the 7th spot right now. They're a game back of Denver for the 6th seed. If they lose that first playing game against the Clippers and then win the second, they would be the 8th seed. And that would be a tough first round series. I think the Suns would win that, but they've played Phoenix well the 2 times that they've met already this season. Both were close games that came down to the wire. So I think this team's motivation is the same that it's always been. Just take care of the opponent that's in front of you. Take it one game at a time. And I think they're happy to have Campaign and Jay Crowder back tonight.
Look, I'm at the point, too, when you're talking about the 8th seed and they could be a tough match. All of these are going to be difficult matchups.
Mm-hmm.
This is not your typical 1-8 year, regardless of who wins these play-ins. So all of these are going to be difficult, including if Minnesota winds up in there.
I mean, they're going to be difficult too, regardless of who you play, because you're going to get every team's best every single night. Like we've been talking about that throughout the season as well. I mean, look at the Kings the other night. They wanted that win so badly. And so does every team that faces the best team in the NBA. Like that's a natural desire for anybody in any sort of a competition type of setting.
Yeah, the one thing I will say is that to this point, I think the Suns have wanted to win games because that's just how they're wired, but they have a whole new switch that they're going to flip come playoff time, because then it turns from everybody else wants to beat us to we're the best team in the NBA. We have a championship within our sights. Every game matters. Like we've flipped the switch when we needed to during this regular season. Now the switch permanently stays on. I feel like I'm probably going to go Suns in 5, no matter their first round matchup. But these playoffs this year, you look 1 through 8 in the West, you look 1 through 8 in the East. It's fascinating because there are so many good teams that could pull off an upset or that could make some noise. It's going to be an all-time playoff year, I think.
In the West, I think you could argue 1 through 10 is almost like that. That this is it's one
except
of
the Lakers.
But still, you got AD and LeBron,
Yeah.
so you may get one game where they both play well, and so it forces a fifth game. But I definitely this is a very bizarre year that we're looking at, and of course it's the year that the Suns finished first. There's no cakewalk in the 8th spot for sure. So.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's a positive then too, and in a different type of a setting, right? Because then nobody can be like, oh, well, you had an easier route.
Everyone will have to shut up on that one.
But
Hopefully, anyway.
Let's be honest.
They won't, but they'll have to.
Because if you get Denver,
well, it makes it harder. It makes it harder to make that as a believable storyline, right?
True.
Like you can still try and put it out there, but people are like, well, just a minute. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm just wishful thinking over here.
By the way, the chat has brought up Pat Beverly's name about 70 times, talking about that's motivation enough for the Suns.
Fair.
I think so. I mean, at least to posterize him once or make him look like a fool. I'm sure there'll be motivation for that.
Yeah, Monty said before the game that it wasn't something that they talked about because he was asked about Patrick Beverly, and he said it's not something we talked about, but then he added in the little tidbit. He does this. He's done this throughout his entire career, so we're used to it. And
we're aware he plays here.
Yeah, and then to be fair, he said he kind of dodged questions about what Anthony Davis said before the game when the Lakers played. So this is a team that they're not going to say anything publicly or give you bulletin board material, but they will just beat your ass on the court and remember it for sure.
Yeah, Devin and Chris are reminding us.
Oh, yeah. They remember.
All right, gentlemen, let's take a look at tonight's injury report. For the Timberwolves, they're going to be without Jaden McDaniels. On the Suns side of things, looking pretty good, comparatively speaking. Chris Paul and Cam Johnson remain out, but Cam Payne and Jay Crowder are back in. So
only 2 of your best 6 players are out. Win.
Things are looking up.
I mean, it's better than the injury report I had to erase on my rundown here for Sunday that had like 8 people on it, it felt like.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So Cam Payne was sick on Sunday, which is why he missed that game, but he's feeling better today. So he will play. Jay Crowder, you remember, had a groin issue, but he played Sunday and then came down on Justin Holiday's foot, tweaked his ankle. But he is also good to go today. And Gerald, I believe Cam Payne is going to be in the starting lineup.
He will. Yeah, there was some confusion. I think it was accidentally listed as Peyton on one of the injury reports that went out at the arena, but the Suns tweeted out that it'll be Payne in the lineup. So thank God we're good.
Yeah, we were sitting here going, is Monty playing chess? Why would Peyton start? And no, Cam Payne will start. So.
Yeah.
Thank God.
We'll see who's the first off the bench tonight, though, because we have seen recently Monty has been given the nod to Elfrid Payton in those kind of situations. So it'll be interesting to see who kind of gets that first go ahead off the bench tonight in that position. But
yeah,
we'll see.
It better be. I'm sorry. I'm at the point
should
where
be Holiday.
It better be Holiday. Enough with the Elfrid Payton. We feel bad that you may not be on this roster much longer.
Right. It made sense a couple of games to, the first game it was, okay, let's see if Payton really deserves to be on this roster with, Ife Lundberg coming over and with Ish Wainwright possibly deserving a roster spot. The second game it was, okay, let's put Aaron Holiday coming off the bench so that we have some scoring off the bench and so that he's in a position he'll be in the playoffs. this game, it would just be a little worrisome if Payton got the minutes.
If CP3 comes back tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
that means obviously Payne moves back to the bench, and Holiday moves to that third guard. So get him an additional playing time tonight. Well, the opportunities there. I don't need to see Elfrid Payton getting any time because we know what Elfrid is.
Right.
All right, so on our rundown here, it says playoff preview. We talked about it a little bit off the top of the show, but if these two teams wind up facing off in a playoff series, are you guys concerned? What is 1 to 10? Where do you think this one kind of falls?
I think I have a sneaking suspicion this winds up being the first round matchup. I can't. There's no, obviously we don't know,
right?
But it feels like there'd be storylines there. Minnesota, young team, first time in the playoffs in forever, very much like the Suns were last year. You've got the Booker and Cat angle to it, the Beverly Chris Paul angle. It very much feels like the kind of matchup that is a great storyline kind of matchup for the NBA playoffs. Not that I'm claiming the league rigs things. I'm just saying it looks like that, and I could see where Minnesota winds up in that 7 and doesn't win that 7-8 game just because of inexperience, but takes care of who comes out of that 9-10 game and winds up in that 8 spot. So I could see it. But like Gerald was saying, I don't think this team necessarily concerns me in terms of winning a series. Could they push it to 5, push it to 6? Yeah, definitely. There's enough talent there, enough young talent. But when you look at the matchup, I obviously am going to always prefer DeAndre Ayton in that. Just I like his defense. I love what Karl Anthony Towns does, but defensively, DA is going to bring more for me. And across the board, I think the Suns win the matchups everywhere else. Like if DA can play even to Cat, from or even a little under on the boards and offensively, and still play good defense, I think the rest of the lineup for the Suns is a better lineup.
Yeah, I mean, if it's Suns Timberwolves, I'm going Suns in 5 in this matchup. I think the Timberwolves will make it tougher than it looks like. I think it was back in the day, like when the Bulls were a powerhouse with Derrick Rose and the Pacers lost in like 5 games, but all 5 were really competitive. That's the kind of series I feel like it would be. But I think the Suns would win comfortably. I still think it's probably going to be Clippers or Pelicans that we see in that 8 spot. Because I think the Timberwolves have a chance to leapfrog Denver. I'm not sure if they play each other again before the season's over. But if this is the matchup, like Towns is a guy that obviously makes it tough, but we've seen DA rise to the occasion defensively against guys exactly like that. Nikola Jokic, Anthony Davis, even Giannis. Giannis had his way in that series overall, but if you look at how dominant he was when DA was off the floor versus when he was on the floor, like DA did about as good as you could hope against a guy like Giannis minus the foul trouble. So he loves those types of matchups. He kind of lives for that sort of thing. And we've talked about this in the past. When you have a specific assignment for DA, he takes it very seriously and he does really well, especially like we saw in the playoffs. So I feel like that would be a huge win for Phoenix if he could just even play him even or make life tough on Cat. The other options kind of dry up quickly. As good as Anthony Edwards is, as irritating as Patrick Beverly is, I feel like the Suns would have a pretty sizable advantage in that series.
Brittany in the chat said, I do not want to watch Pat Bev for a whole series.
Fair.
And I kind of feel the same way.
We already did it last year. Why not again?
Because we don't want to again. We already did it last year. That's why.
I'd rather watch Pat Bev than an entire Clippers roster. Because the Clippers are still that team without Pat Bev. I'd rather one guy like that than a team full of those kind of guys.
The Timberwolves are playing better basketball, but the Clippers are a trickier matchup for the Suns. And I think Tyronn Lue has done an excellent job whenever these two teams have played of making life hell for this team. So I would really not like to see the Clippers in the first round. I'd still say probably Suns in 5 or 6, but yeah, it's going to be unfortunate no matter which first round matchup they get, because like we've been saying, there are teams that are kind of peaking at the right time that are in that 7 to 8 range, and it's kind of a disadvantage that you're the 1 seed and you have to wait for 2 play-in games to figure out who you're even playing.
I really hate that.
Yeah,
I
it's
hate
weird.
that aspect of it because you can't prepare.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like and it's
And you
very
should be
weird.
rewarded as the 1 seed. That's the
Right.
whole point, is to have like home court advantage, all that kind of stuff. You get rewarded for that. So now it's kind of evening the playing field, I guess, which is good for the teams who aren't as good as the Suns. But can we not have this be the year that the Suns are the 1 seed?
I think they should alter it, and they should let the 1 pick which out of the 7 and 8 they want to play that comes out of that play in, just so there is some advantage to being the 1, because you got to wait. Then it's a mess right now with that. So first world problems. How great is this? You're complaining about who's in the play.
We're 9 games ahead of the next closest team, and we're like,
what a time to be alive.
To know.
Gosh, how the times have changed for us Phoenix Suns fans.
How the turntables.
All right, so the next topic of conversation, a video of Charles Oakley and Shannon Sharp talking about LeBron James needing to get out of LA and a place that he can go to get a ring. We are going to discuss this, but before we do, we're going to play the clip in case you haven't seen it yet.
What is going to happen? He might have to get out of LA. I hate the fans, hear me say that, but he needed a ring. He needed a ring, and I think that he might have to leave to get it. And the 2 places that he can probably get it in right now, either Phoenix or Philadelphia.
I said Philly, him and Joel Embiid.
Yes, make that trade. Bill Simmons, LeBron, the money match. I think Portland was trying to do something to make the money match. Phoenix would make the money match because that's what they need. I like Phoenix this year. For some reason, they went and got another big man. I like them. They've been consistent the last 2 years because most of the time, when you get to the finals and you don't bounce back the next year, you ain't going to never get back. And they playing the same way they played last year, but they playing smarter and better.
Right.
First off, I never take my basketball advice from a guy wearing a beret. So let's start there, all right? I get it. Charles Oakley, NBA legend for being an enforcer. And there's a reason he's not a GM, because this is just asinine. Phoenix would make the salary work. That's $44 million next year. You would have to basically burn the building down to get LeBron here. I don't care if you don't even win this year. You're not desperate enough to trade everything to get LeBron James here. There's no point. Maybe the year after, when he's an unrestricted free agent, if you've gone 3 years without winning a title, and it's a wink, wink, I'll come over to help James and CP3 win a ring. But I'm not buying it. This sounds like LeBron's buddy knowing that LeBron's antsy in LA and trying to figure out a reason to do something.
My biggest question from this whole conversation is Charles Oakley being like, he needs to get himself a ring. Why? The only time, I get it, you want one. I understand wanting to win more championships, and I'm not discrediting that desire. But the word need, I would only ever use that if it was somebody like Chris Paul, who has gone his whole career, never gotten a ring. Steve Nash even. I'd be like, they need to go get a ring because their careers have been so great. That's the icing on the cake. That's the cherry on top, the thing that really solidifies them as a bona fide superstar in this league. I mean, look at Charles Barkley. It's still held against him to this day. The only time I use the word need in terms of getting a ring is if you don't have one yet, but he has one.
It's like
he has multiple.
It's like somebody that's been married 7 times going, I need to get another ring. I need that 8th marriage. No, you already had your chance at enough rings. You don't need one. All right.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't listen to the whole conversation. I would guess that Oakley, because a lot of these 90s guys are stuck in this never-ending argument of who the GOAT is between MJ and LeBron, and so it's always going to be 6 versus 4. So he's I would guess Charles Oakley, a guy who went up against MJ with those Knicks teams, is looking at it from, he needs 2 more still. He needs more rings. But that's just trying to pigeonhole the best player on the best team without paying attention to any of the way that this team was constructed, what makes them successful. Phoenix plays defense. And I'm not saying that if LeBron wants to sign a year from now for the mid-level exception, of course you want a guy like that. But at the same time, they play defense. They actually put effort in. And if you watch the beginning of that Suns-Lakers game the other day, half the threes that the Suns were just hitting in transition were LeBron's guy. He didn't give a shit. Like, this whole season has been about setting records and accolades and individual accomplishments, and look at where the Lakers record is. It's not squarely on him. Obviously the rest of his roster is trash, but like, would he flip that switch at age 37 playing for this team? Like, I don't know. Like, he would. I'm not saying the Suns would be better off without LeBron. If you can add LeBron as a signing, a cheap signing, do it. But like, trading, you would have to trade DA and like McHale or Jay or Cam Johnson. What? No.
I'll say it.
Just no.
The Phoenix Suns don't need LeBron James, all right? They do not need LeBron, and I do not want to see what they'd have to do to get him.
Here's my thought on this. And Ricardo, someone in the chat of this actual YouTube video, not our chat, but the actual YouTube video, said the problem with LeBron, which is also what makes him great, is that he is the system.
Mm-hmm.
If he went to Phoenix, he isn't at the point in his career where he will adapt to the system. He will automatically become the system. And in their opinion, Phoenix's system is good enough as it is to win a championship. And I agree completely with that, because Chris Paul came in and adjusted his style of play, adjusted his personality, even some people could say, to fit what Phoenix needed, to fit what James Jones and Monty Williams were building here together. Can and would LeBron do the same thing? I don't think so. At least maybe not right now. Maybe in a couple more years when he's really at the end of his career, maybe he'd be more willing to do that, to get himself another ring or to just have one more like run at it. But I don't think he comes in, if this was next year or even the year after, I don't think he comes in and is like, yeah, I'm going to play in your system the way that you guys play. I'm going to take a back seat. I'm going to pull Devin Booker and not pad my stats in order for the entire team to be successful. I don't think he does that.
Well, and you bring up Monty Williams. If you remember, Monty had the chance to go coach LeBron and that Lakers team.
That's very true.
And he chose Phoenix over them. So you got to wonder, did he not want LeBron because he doesn't fit that system? What was the reasoning that he looked at LeBron and that Lakers team and went, Phoenix is where I'd rather be? So does that come into play too? Not that I don't think Monty's ever the kind of guy that would be like, nope, I won't coach X, Y, and Z. But that's an interesting wrinkle in it too. Why did he choose the Suns over LeBron and the Lakers?
See, I think he saw Devin Booker and he saw the young roster that this team had, and knowing Monty, like he's a country guy at heart. Like, he wants to build something. I think the idea of him being in LA was probably not attractive to him.
That too.
And just the amount of coverage that team gets. Like, it's usually just 3 of us at practice for Suns practices. I think that is much more
Oh my gosh,
Monty's
could you
speed
imagine?
than LA.
Monty would probably
He'd
that would
hate
probably
it there.
stress him out so much every day, having to talk to a boatload of people about every issue, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just the amount of
Right. And I'm not saying that's the chief reason. I think he would have loved to coach LeBron. I don't think it's that either. And I think LeBron, especially later in his career, if he's like, okay, this is probably my last shot to win a title, I think he'd be more willing to adjust and do what, especially if the Suns win the title this year, because then it's like, these guys don't need me, but I can make them better. I think he'd be more willing to adjust. But it's like, they don't need him. Like, it's at this point, it's more LeBron needs the Suns than the Suns would need LeBron. And we're good. We have a young core. Like, we'll need to replace Chris Paul with a starting caliber point guard in the future. But like, for now, they're good. Don't mess with a good thing.
By the way, I was being somewhat facetious about Monty not wanting to coach LeBron. Yeah. I think it's more a guy like Monty looks at that and realizes the coach is the fall guy if a super team doesn't work.
Right.
That is true.
That's a no-win situation for a guy like Monty, so who had options. So.
Yeah.
I think the other thing to remember too is if we're talking about like next year, which I kind of feel like this conversation was kind of alluding to next season. Why would you trade away anybody for LeBron unless it was a kind of last-ditch effort to win a championship? Because we already know LeBron has already told us publicly he's going to go play with Bronny wherever Bronny winds up. Mm-hmm. So if Bronny doesn't end up on the Suns, LeBron's dipping out too. Yeah. And so I'm just saying, like, you're basically renting somebody. or you're selling all your assets to borrow a thing for a minute. It just doesn't make sense.
Anybody that gets LeBron is just borrowing him for a short period of time too. Like,
I can't wait to see him in like a fucking Orlando Magic jersey in a couple of years.
You just don't mortgage the future for that guy.
Like, no, they're good as is. Like, even if they don't win a title this year, that doesn't put you in a position where you look at LeBron and be like, that's the piece that's going to get us over the hump. Like, no, they're good enough to win it now. If they don't win it this year, something went wrong with an injury, or they just got beat by a very good team. Like, you don't blow it up for that type of thing. So again, LeBron needs the Suns more than the Suns would need LeBron.
Now, if LeBron beats him in the first round, then yeah, bring LeBron on. Blow up the Lakers.
Well, we're living in fantasy land. Star Wars won the bracket yesterday. So.
All right, gentlemen, I think we are all in agreement. No on LeBron joining the Suns anytime in the near future. So let's wrap up today's show back with tonight's game. Mm-hmm. Something that will actually be happening, Suns versus Timberwolves, and see what our friends over at the DraftKings Sportsbook app think about this one.
Yeah, this is... I don't remember a line this close since the Bucks game, I believe.
It's been a while, yeah.
They have the Suns as a 1-point favorite, which really is a draw when you're on the road. So DraftKings is saying, we don't know tonight.
Which, fair. Like, this is a tough one, honestly. The Timberwolves have been playing great. The Suns have been playing great, but they still don't have two of their top 6 guys like we've been talking about. So that's kind of a testament to the Suns, though. Like, they're 10-4 without Chris Paul, which would be the best record in the NBA win percentage wise. Like, what a team.
Yeah.
That's great.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to share what bets we would be making on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. And hopefully some of these will hit tonight and potentially win some money if you guys choose to also bet in this way. So Gerald has stay on the bench, Pat Bev. I like that.
I think those odds are pretty bad. Let's just say
they're probably really bad.
Saul having fun at minus 10,000 seems about right. He is on a flight right now to San Antonio, which nobody has fun in San Antonio. So I have the Suns at plus 350 to win by more than 8 points tonight.
Oh, and
wow. This is a game I could see it happening where they're like, all right, we got one left without CP3, which is what it seems like. Let's go out there and remind everybody we did it without him too. So
they did it in Miami. Nobody saw that coming.
And then I've got a DA over 18.5 points tonight. Shane Diefenbach on the Diefenlock chose this as well. So I'm guessing it's a better gamble than one that I would have chosen on my own.
You're putting a lot of faith in Shane. That's what
I also have zero faith in me.
In your betting ability.
In my betting ability.
Lindsay has plenty of self-confidence. Don't you worry. So.
Debatable. Depends on the day.
Who do you guys think will be the draft king tonight too? Do you who do you think has that game that shows out tonight?
I'm gonna go Booker.
That's what I'm feeling too. I feel a book game tonight.
He's been on a tear lately.
Mikal Bridges.
Mikal Bridges, okay. He's been playing great too lately.
Yeah, and I also would really like to see Mikal have a really big game, especially after our conversation yesterday with Chris Vernon and us kind of talking about jokingly, obviously on his side of things with the Defensive Player of the Year conversations. I'm all in on Mikal having a really solid end of the season here to be able to switch that narrative over more to his name.
By the way, I felt bad that Vernon suggested we get somebody to write the definitive Mikal piece, and I said Bill Simmons when I had you sitting right next to me.
It's fine.
That was rude.
Well, you were talking. I thought you were talking about national writers.
Well, we can make you national, is what I'm saying.
I was about to switch to the girth cam when you guys were talking about that, but I couldn't get there in time. I was like, "There's one right there."
This guy.
It'll be coming soon.
Yes. Thank you guys for tuning in. Enjoy tonight's game. Don't forget, as always, we will be back right here after the final buzzer. So come hang out with us then. In the meantime, you can hang out with us on Twitter at PHNX_Suns. If you are a Go PHNX member, you can also hang out with us in the members only Discord. If you're like, wait, there's a membership, where can I get that? go phnx.com. You can become a member today. You get access to the Discord. You get access to Gerald's amazing content. You get access to exclusive content, and you get discounts on our merch and our lockers. So lots of cool reasons to do that. One more time, go phnx.com. Okay, bye.
Bye.